Here we're going to be talking a little bit about sales. I want to talk to you guys about the financial thermostat within sales, as well as how to elevate yourself if you don't happen to have that chip on your shoulder that a lot of guys have. What do you guys think about in regards to the financial thermostat?
Financial thermostat. Interesting.
So let me give you an overview on that. Basically, there's a lot of guys in the industry right now with solar especially, as well as other industries where they make a certain amount of money per year and they're capped out. So how do you get somebody to raise their financial thermostat without too much community, without being around millionaires, billionaires, to be able to get yourself there?
Invest, bro.
Invest.
Yeah, you should set yourself up on some sort of a fixed budget, and then every dime that you have over that, you need to invest or you need to build some other sort of asset. Because solar is dude. Those guys go out and they make so much money in like a summer or whatever they do. Like some of them are making crazy amounts of money, 100 grand, 400 grand, 500 grand.
In 2 to 3 months.
So you need to invest because that's the only way to do it. Like right now, Web 2.0 real estate, there's a lot of really, really cool investments that you can get into. And that's how you do it. I mean, you need to be able to build things. One of my mentors used to always say to me, and I think about this every day, especially like since the pandemic, which by the way, I've invested in, completely purchased, or like do marketing sales for 42 companies, right? We bought 40 something of them during the pandemic, or they were given to us by banks. Every single day I think to myself, what one of my mentors said, and he said, the less you do, the more you'll make.
Yeah, I agree. I totally agree with that.
So I'm not saying don't go out and do solar and stuff, but if you're going to go out and do solar and you're going to train salespeople and do all this, you're just creating more work, which you should do to create that seed money, and then you need to invest.
Yeah, so like the biggest thing I would say is right now where you have a solid job and a solid income, you need to set up your financial blockchain, all right? Now you've heard this before, but I'm gonna tell it to you just a little bit different, okay? So my background's blockchain. I do it from the second compound, which is a mineral that's like a combined mineral. Elon Musk, the reason he's the richest man in the world is because he does what's called a first principle sub 2. From the quark, literally the quirk of an atom, all the way to putting rockets in space, and he now just bought Twitter, which is a Web 3, okay? So he owns that whole supply chain, 17 different companies, 17 different margins, 17 different salespeople. Now it all flows through one, he keeps all that profit margin, okay? So this is what I do, this is my background. You need to set up a nonprofit. You're making good money, you need to set up a nonprofit. It's cheap, it does not take 9 months, that's a lie. It takes 2 weeks. You get what's called a private nonprofit, and now every time you want to throw an event with your buddies, you want to go somewhere cool, you want to go to the lake, whatever else, you write a grant to a famous person, which Brock knows a lot of them. You write a grant to a famous person, you say, hey, here's the event that I want to do, and I'm going to invite Post Malone, and we're going to do human beer pong on Lake Powell, and this is how it's all going to work. By the way, we should do this event for real. We should. We'll shoot lasers into the water, right? And then like they'll go off the blob and through the lasers. Dude, we got it.
You get the lasers and I'll get the celebrities.
I like it. See, so nonprofit, okay? Now, from that nonprofit protects you in your business pipeline. So if you want to raise that thermostat, I guarantee that there's people that need, the reason I like Brock and the celebrities is because the celebrities make money that's bankable. You right now make a lot of money that's bankable and you don't have a lot of overhead or expense. Or let's say that you do. Let's say did you say 70 grand a year?
What is that?
Or did you say 70 grand a month, these solar guys? Or
some of them are making that in a month.
But so where does the thermostat start for you?
Me personally, my thermostat's a lot higher than most, but the thermostat for most people that are in this industry, they're coming from 25, 30,000 a year.
Okay, right? So where does it start where they start to have this?
50, 60, maybe 100.
A year?
Yeah, 100's the number for a lot of people that are between the ages of 20 and 30.
Was that before inflation?
Actually, it's right now, man. So with inflation, they still think $100,000 is a lot of money.
Okay, if you're thinking 100 grand right now, at least raise your thermostat to 150, okay? Because inflation, that's where we're at now. So your 100 grand is now 150, so at least raise it to that. Next, you need to raise it to like, what do you need for a good business startup? Let's say, a good business startup. What was your lowest investment, highest return where you did the whole business?
Some of them I'm paying zero because I'm getting them from banks, but right. But I mean, honestly, there's a lot of really good businesses right now that you can start for 10 grand to 25 grand. Like NFT type stuff, or even product businesses. Like
So
I'll just tell you right now, I go onto flippa.com and I buy a website for 5, 10, 20 grand. And I always make sure that it has existing inventory, right? Because I don't want to deal with that. Because then I got to float it. So my kids, who are 14 and 17, usually when I'm a single dad raising 4 kids on my own. And so when I go home, instead of like on the fridge, the notepads that said, Dad, get this, Dad, can I go to this? It's like, Dad, we want to buy this site, and this site. So we go to Flippa,
nice.
or we're on, and then so on Flippa, what we do is we'll buy them for 5, 10, 15 grand. And then we have a couple of influencers that we use. If anyone's watching this, you need help with connection to influencers. We have 1 or 2 influencers that will pay $1,000 to $2,000. They slam it. Now all of a sudden we're doing 50 to 100 grand a month. We can sell that thing for $500K.
Okay, so I don't ask the questions for you.
But so I do want to say this though. I've never done solar. Yeah. I have no business in solar. I know nothing about solar, right? You have to stay in solar. And here's the reason, and start here. And here's the reason why. Years ago, I started a company where we would sell coupons door to door, right? And and we would sell like Big O tires and all these things, packages and stuff. And I had a company come in that taught like how to do sales and stuff like that. And so I went out in the streets for like 6 months to learn how to do my own company. And then and we hired all these sales organizations and all this stuff. It is so damn easy to get money from investors, but most people that come to me for investment can't tell me in 30 seconds or less what the fuck they want. So I'm being serious.
Absolutely.
I got a text message the other day that said, dude, I have $20 million in contracts. I need $1 million to open this business. I'll pay you your money back plus 20% over the next 12 months. Fuck yeah. Sorry for lying. But fuck yeah, I'm in. And so I'm like, dude, I'm in. I'm call Wire, send me the contract and stuff. And my son goes, well, Dad, what are we buying? I'm like, let me call him back. I don't know. But I knew that the guy was going to send me the contracts. Yeah. I knew that he would also have this stuff together. I can't tell you how many times I would hire that when I talk to a founder, someone that wants to start a company, and they can't tell me in 30 seconds or less what the hell they're doing. Here's what I'm thinking. Okay, it took them a week or 2 weeks or whatever to send me an email. Okay, now I'm going to introduce them to my other investor partners and influencers and this and this and this and this. It's going to take 6 months to get this damn thing off the ground because they don't know how to talk to people.
Just so you know, he's talking to me right now.
No,
straight up. Don't joke. He's talking to me.
So
after my last business loss, this is literally what happened to me.
So most of the people that I talk to, and I'm sure, I don't know anything about solar, but I'm pretty sure you guys teach people within like 30 seconds or 60 seconds to get like some sort of hook or something, right?
Yeah.
And so it is so easy. The biggest challenge I have as an investor, you're going to be my living proof right here. How many text messages have I missed today?
364.
364.
25 calls.
25 calls and 3. Okay. The reason why I'm not going to reply.
Not including WhatsApp.
Nice. How many have I missed?
760.
Yes. So, and I cleaned mine out.
I don't want to take my phone out.
And so my point is that. So Jeff Hoffman's a close friend of mine. He's the guy that owns Priceline and Booking.com and stuff. And we sit down. We've been on a couple like shows or whatever together, and we always sit down. And we're like, man, if they could just tell us what they wanted, so we don't have to listen to the whole thing. And a lot of times it doesn't even matter what the product is. It's like if you're launching an NFT and you're like, hey, I got this deal. I need like 10 grand to do this, and we'll probably do 200 grand in this because I got this thing. I'm like, dude, that makes sense. What are we doing? And they're like, oh, we're doing an NFT and we're doing this thing. Okay, now I'm in, right? But everyone wants to do it backwards. So the whole reason for bringing this whole thing up is we were talking about investment and all this other stuff. Yep. If you're in solar, you need master the craft, because if you master the craft of what you guys are teaching or what they're doing in this, you can make an enormous amount of money just by learning how to properly communicate with people.
Yeah, go ahead.
Just for example, there's a guy that's in the solar industry that's honestly probably like my second dad, basically. Yep. He lays the truth on me every single time I see him, and it cuts deep. Yeah. So I've known him for several years now. He does 2.5 million watts personally.
Oh, that's good.
So
that's awesome.
$10 million a year is what he's going after.
That's cool.
And so 2.5 million watts by a single individual has never been done before.
Is that in the residential space?
That's in the residential space.
Oh my gosh. I want to meet him. That guy's an animal.
Yeah, I wish you were here yesterday.
He must be in a good area. That's what they say. I bet that everyone has you got an excuse. Everyone's
He's in
got
Arizona. It's not terrible.
That's good.
It's
Still,
it's still a little rough. You got
sure.
a lot of competition. You have a lot of sun hours. And honestly, he's out there every single day, 7 days a week.
Yeah.
So from what I'm understanding, based on what you just said, is be concise and know what you want. And that's going to help raise your financial thermostat, because then you can get around people that can help you raise that financial thermostat together.
Dude, what I always do is we call it like an inside man with what I do. So just full transparency, 3 or 4 years ago, I was somewhat semi-retired and I didn't have any like existing skill, right? So I'm like, oh, e-commerce is booming. I need to learn how to be a specialist and kick ass at one thing.
Yep.
So my one thing was Facebook ads. I watched all the YouTube videos. I took the online courses. I did a couple of test things and I sucked. So what I did was I found this kid that was going to Boston College. I'm like, dude, I'll send you beer money every weekend if you show me how to do this,
That's
right?
awesome.
So I bought a little company, a little water bottle company. I paid him $700, like Venmo or something like that. Boom, we're at 50 grand a month, right? And then I'm like, dude, what? He's like, oh, running the thing. So I knew if I did that one thing, I'd be really good. That's the one thing I'm good at, right? Or was good at the time. And then now recently I've more focus on the financial side. But in order to raise your financial thermostat, you have to be the baddest mofo in one thing.
Yeah.
Like, and so if you're going to be, and if you can learn that one thing, which you can in solar, and just being out there in the damn sun and doing it because you get really, really good really fast.
Oh yeah.
You can go out and do anything.
The thing that I learned is, so I used to have this company that was literally called Unicorn Universe. It went in a weird way, but that's okay. But this is what I learned. You got to find your unicorn, and your unicorn is literally this. The whole world has so much noise and things that you could do around it. Okay, it's all the color of the world, the 7 colors of the rainbow. And if you learn to get laser focused at what you're good at, so far to the point that you're number one, every one of your competitors will call you and try and recruit you. Every single one of them. Every one of the people that know you will call you. If people call you and take you to dinner, take notes, listen, learn, hear what they have to say. Don't talk about yourself at all. Just take it all in, hear everything, and then when they ask you a question, you're going to want to talk about yourself. Do not in this environment. Instead, listen, ask another question, dig deeper. Here's why. They're there to recruit you, 100%. You're number one, top 5 in the market. They want to recruit you, right? They're going to take the gamble against a non-compete that you might have just to stand up for you because you're so good. They're going to do that. So you shut up, you ask them questions as if you're going to really go to where they're going, and you learn everything about them. And then at the very end, when it's time to talk about yourself, you can if you want, but you just got everything to be there, right? Being number one opens doors of access. And access makes you rich. What's the meaning of life? The meaning of life is to connect with other people. I guarantee it. That's the meaning of life. So you just got to find it, whatever that is.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you a quick story about Donnie because Donnie invited us on. So no joke, this is me, okay? In 2019, I lost a company for $80 million valuation. I lost this company, okay? It took me broke, everything. My mom, 6 months before we went under, my mom retired with $4 million. My mom, okay? She owns 7% of my company. As soon as we went broke, 480 grand upside down. If I didn't meet amazing people, I probably would have put the gun in my mouth, not because I'm suicidal in the least bit, but when you lose everything, it's extremely hard, including your friends and 4,000 people that got paid from my company. We lost everything, okay? Very hard. Donnie, in November of 2020, starts this, and maybe he started a long time ago, this billionaire mindset guy, right? Out of nowhere, I don't even know how I know him. I don't know if I met you through Ryan Stewman's Facebook. I don't know how I know him. Pops up, and he just, man, everything was fire. And my brain, from being homeless and by myself and the most negative person in the world, nobody wanted to be around me. It was just always talking about it shoulda, woulda, coulda. It was terrible. Nobody wanted to be around me. And all I did was tune into Donnie's thing. And we were like this, strangers from across the world. And he literally woke me up, him and this one other kid, Nate Lambert, and I checked back in. And so it's really because of you, man.
I love that, man.
So
Thank
on
you.
top of that, I have to tell the story of you. Is how I met you, and the reason why I wanted to work with you is we were doing my pitch event at Silicon Slopes where I bring out all the investors and people get up on stage. And you, I think, had just lost your company.
Yeah, I had.
You had just lost your company. So we're sitting in there. I think I was on stage, and you like raise your hand to say something, and some dude in the audience or some person in the audience, like a hater, basically like said something about you.
Yes,
and I was
exactly.
like, wait a second, who is it? This guy? Number one, built a successful company, but also had the courage to come here and do it again. I want to work with that guy.
100%.
And I said to myself, I'm like, I need to work with that guy.
Yeah.
Because no matter what happens in business and life, dude, you're going to mess up.
Oh, for sure.
And a lot of times it's not like, but if you still have that will and move forward, I'm like, I've made most of my money in life by finding people that have done well and then are going down. And most of the companies that I buy are kind of that way too.
For sure.
But I was like, if this dude's down and he has a courage to do that, I guarantee you in a year or two he's going to be way back on top.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to ride that train with him.
Actually,
so that's when I
I love that.
Yeah, so when I first got introduced to Aaron, I introduced him to all of my friends as he's a billionaire. Because in my head, with what he knows, I don't care about your bank account.
Yeah.
I care about what you know and how you're connected.
Yeah.
Money comes and goes. They print more of it every single day. We just gave $800 million away.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's my perspective, is the billionaire mindset. Everybody always asks me, are you a billionaire yet? I'm like, no, but my mindset is.
That's good,
And that's
dude.
that's why I developed the group.
That's rock solid. That's why you should have podcasts and put more people on like this.
Yeah,
For sure.
And then the last part about Aaron, he's also super fun and humble. We all brought all of our cars out, Ferraris and Porsches and all this stuff, and he was walking around with a unicorn head on. Remember at the track? At the track, it was so awesome. So I'm going to actually send you a picture so that you can splice it into this.
Oh,
thing.
yeah, that'd be great.
I like that. I
Awesome.
met William Lamb there for the first time. Do you know William Lamb?
Mm-mm.
You don't know William Lamb of Upgrade? You don't know him?
Maybe I do.
Man,
You can't call me out on a podcast
dude.
like that.
So, Aaron, I do have a question.
I like that. Oh, gotta splice that out. Just kidding. Go ahead.
I do have a question for you. When you lost your company, the Coach Burt is a guy that I've listened to monotonously. He's a good mentor of mine from back in the day, 2019, when he was here at Door to Door Con. He talks about prey drive often, right? Do you know Coach Burt? No, you know Coach Burt though.
I'm familiar, I think. Yeah.
So he talks about prey drive often. He used to be a coach. That's why he's called
Prey
Coach
driver.
Burt.
Okay.
Prey drive was something where you have that chip on your shoulder and you wake up every single day and you attack whatever it is that you need to attack.
Yep.
Kobe Bryant, for example, used to listen to the Michael Myers Halloween theme song before every single game because he's out for blood. He wanted to murder those guys.
Yeah.
It could be a normal game at the beginning of the season, but every single game he went into, even if it was a pickup game at his house, they were still playing like it was a championship.
Yep.
So where does that prey drive come from for you to be able to say, I lost $80 million and I'm still grinding to become a multi-hundred millionaire?
Yeah, so I'm going to tell you this story that happened that I live for. So people ask me all the time, Aaron, why do you So I love coaching with people, and I'm going to say this. So you that are watching this, okay, and it's going to be man, woman for a moment, but do you ever get that fire of that special someone in your gut that, man, she is so dang sexy or he is so dang hot, and you just want to jump their bones? I call that the internal fire, okay? And so when you get that in business for the first time, that becomes your why, that internal fire. So I'm gonna tell you the story of my internal fire, and I miss it, okay? And it was this one experience that happened. It's about being number one in the world, number one in a really crazy industry. And so this is what happened. So I opened up this company, container company, Miami Casa. We were the fastest growing container company from late 2016 until 2019 first quarter. Okay, and so here's what happened. I'm down in Vegas at a conference like this. I hate these conferences, by the way, because it's where all of your top salespeople go tell all your competitors exactly why you're number one. So that's why I hate these conferences. But this is what happened. So I'm at this conference, and I recruited in this container company the number one guy out of a freight forwarder industry. His name's Hobart Lowe. Love the guy. I recruited him, and he used to be with a company called Siva Logistics, which sold to Apollo Group, and then the guy reopened under this thing called Crane Worldwide. And this guy knows Jim Crane firsthand. I walk into a room, and the number one container owner in the world, his name's Eric Ho. Eric Ho comes over, breaks Chinese tradition, comes over and shakes this guy's hand, my president, not mine, this guy, okay?
Wow.
Then the number 4 container owner in the world's granddaughter comes over, and she shakes my hand. I talk to him for a minute, I excuse myself, I go over to the bar, and this blonde-looking Ken doll, his name's Jens Hoke with a company called Conical, he literally walks over to me and he says, hey, who the fuck are you? Excuse my language, but he says, hey, who the fuck are you? And I said, I'm Aaron Peterson, who the fuck are you? And he's like, I'm Jens Hoke. And he's like, but no, who the fuck are you really? And I'm like, what do you mean? And he's like, how many containers did you sell last year? And I'm like, last year, I wasn't in business last year. And he's like, no. Okay, how long you been in business? And I said, 9 months. He's like, how many containers have you sold in the last 9 months? And I said, 9,946. He said, no fucking way. That's BS, no way. The average person in our industry sells 550 max. They can't sell more than that. There's no way you sold 9,946. I said, no, I did. And you're probably the reason I'm here. I guarantee you're the reason I'm here. He's like, oh yeah, what's that? And I said, I want a one source supplier so I don't have to come here and do this. You can even go buy it from everybody else here and then sell it to me. I don't want to be here. My people sell because I own 20. If you call anybody on Facebook or Craigslist to buy a container, 7 out of 10 of the times, it's my company selling that container. 7 out of 10 times. I own the market. $22,000 a month, by the way, to own the whole market. That's it. In ad spend. That's all it was. So I own the market, right? So I said, so that's number one. And he said, okay, and number two, and I said, I need a 53-foot container. I can't find them. Everybody builds homes models off of them because they go and they Google containers and it comes up with train containers. And so they build homes out of 53-foot containers, and that industry doesn't sell the containers. And he had the big old smile on his face and he said, okay, if I can give you number two and you show me how you did number one, can we do this? And I said, we'll talk about it. That evening we go to the mixer and he comes over and he introduces this guy. And he's like, I want to introduce you guy. This guy is the brother of the guy that invented the container in 1956.
Whoa!
Crazy to me, okay? And so here's what he said to me, and this is the feeling that I love that pulls that drive off, that I want in every industry. I want to help people, top sales guys, people that Brock knows, I want to help them become number one every time in everything they do so that when they walk in the room, I can just be the second guy that's standing next to the guy that's number one that gets his hand shook. That's it. Right? I want you to be number one.
Yeah.
I don't need to be number anyone. I'll be your the best number two. And here's what that was, right? Is literally, he said to me, Aaron, it's crazy. I went and asked every supplier here if they knew of you, and all but 3 said you're their number one buyer. All but 3.
No.
That's wild.
And so it's that feeling. So just drive to be number one. Opens so many doors.
Absolutely. Well, I don't want to take too much of you guys' time. One question that I do have, where did you start? Like when you were a kid, right? When you were 15, 16, 17, 18, going into adulthood, like where was that mindset when you were like, I'm just going to be
That's a killer question.
the biggest badass on planet Earth?
So mine is I've never had a job. Never. So when I was in high school, my stepdad did construction, so I did work for him. So that was pretty adult, like over 18 years old.
Yeah.
So
you were probably forced to be there, maybe.
yeah, it was actually really good because every single day when I go to a boardroom or go to an investor meeting, I'm like, I really don't want to be here. I'm like, but I'm not out there carrying stuff around and out in the hot sun and stuff. So it's a really good reminder. It's also a reminder how to work hard. But I couldn't get a job. Like I just couldn't get a job, and I was like, damn, I don't know how I'm going to pay for myself. Like no one would hire me for anything.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I'll start selling some cell phones, and then because the guy's like, hey, I'll give you 10 of these cell phones, and it was right when they first came out. I'll give you 10 of them. If you go sell them and get a contract, you don't have to sell them for anything. Give them away for free, and I'll give you $300. So I walked down to the local grocery store, and I was like, Bob from corporate sent me down. I'm supposed to give all the employees free cell phones. Boom, sold all 10 of them. Walked back, I made $3,000. I made $3,000 in my very first thing. And I was like, he's like, where are all the phones? I'm like, here's all the contracts. Where's my money? And he's like, damn, he gave me cash. So I was like, can I get 20 more? Went down the street, came out. I think I made $30,000 my first day as like an adult.
Wow, you're like, I'm not getting no 9 to 5.
I was actually at a full ride football scholarship too. And it was in the summer, and I called my coach, and I'm like, hey, this guidance counselor person's calling me. I'm supposed to sign up for classes. And he's like, well, what do you want to do? And I'm like, I just want to make money. And he's like, well, how do you want to make money? I'm like, I don't know. Should I be a doctor, an attorney? Like, well, he's like, well, how much money do you want to make? I'm like, well, I'm making $300,000 a month right now. Like, what can I do in college to make more than that? He's like, if you're making $300,000 a month right now, you need to drop out.
But you want to be in the league,
no? I did. But then, so that was, I think I was 20 when I did the mission thing, right? And that was like right when I came home. And so pretty soon they're like, I was also, so the less you do, the more you make, right? Yeah. So I called some of my buddies. I'm like, hey, dude, I got this thing. If you go sell these cell phones, I'll show you how to go into like Dan's or Smith's or whatever and do this. I'll give you $150 for each one. So they're like, okay. So I go down to the guy. This is like 5 days later. I'm like, hey, I need like 50 phones. He's like, so I had a little Volkswagen Jetta. We fill them up. I drive back to my house, give them to my friends, drive back down. And then I just play PlayStation all day, right? And then I had 400 people selling my phones, like friends. And
this is like the cleanest story I've ever heard. All my friends from California, I'd be like, I went and got a kilo. I came back and went and got a kilo.
So I had about 400 people that were selling them, and I think it was AirTouch and Voice Stream at the time was like the big ones. Yep. So they called me up and they're like, hey, there's no way that you could be doing all these. And I'm like, yeah, it's me. Because I didn't really know like the thing, and I'm like, well, it's not really me. And they're like, yeah, we can tell by all the signatures on the. So they said, do you know that you're the number one in, like, I think it was in Utah. I was like, really? And Nevada.
Wow.
And Arizona. Like, because and so they're like, would you want to open up 12 cell phone stores? And this is the best part. And I was like, I don't know how to do any of that. They're like, okay, we'll just say where you want them and we'll open them up. So I like opened up the first 12, and then
why you should be in solar and be really good at what you do, right?
So then they came to me and they're like, I had only been in business for 9 months, right? And they came to me and they're like, hey, we want to, Verizon or someone's acquiring it. Like, you're kind of out of business because they're going to buy you out. And I was like, oh, that sucks, And they're like, here's a check. We're going to give you this check. So I looked it up and I was like, and they're like, we have 2 checks. Here's the first check. If you'll take this check, you can leave today and you're out. If you want to take the second check, you have to stay for 2 to 3 years. I looked up the first check, got up, went to the bank.
Wow. No, yeah. You didn't even look at the second check.
It was a multiple. Yeah, but and I just walked out. They're like, "Are you even going to look at the next check?" And I'm like, "No." And I still had millions. I had never taken a dime out of the company because I had heard all these stories about people that, like, oh, the owners took money out of their company and they went to jail. So I had no understanding of how that worked. I literally,
that's funny. So you didn't take it. Wait a second.
So I had a huge check, a huge chunk of cash in the bank, and they're like, why do you not have any money in the bank? And I'm like, well, when do I get to take it out? And they're like, it's your money. Your money. I was like, I have all this money now? And they're like, yeah. I'm like, am I going to go to jail? And they're like,
this is the best story ever.
So like, they're like, no. And I was like, okay, I'm going to go put this somewhere, and I'm moving.
Wow.
And so I did, and they called me all the time, like, dude, come back. We'll add like this much more. And I was like, I don't even know how to spend this money. I was in and out of business in 9 months.
Wow.
And then that's when I moved to Arizona and I started that coupon type thing I was
Yeah.
telling you about. And we did all the accounts for Chili's, TGI Fridays, Ruby Tuesdays as part of an incubator. That story is really cool and it's really fun. But I've also lost it all because I would try to go all in on certain deals.
Yeah.
It's because he doesn't have his nonprofit yet, but we're going to help that out.
So
you had a little bit of risk tolerance, I'd imagine, from having so much accrued like financial wealth as well.
well, and the other part was
Maybe that's how you grow the chip. You go through these like this. Maybe that's how you
Well, the other part was it was fairly easy. It wasn't fairly easy. I make it sound like it was really easy. It was actually pretty damn hard because I had all these sales guys, enormous amount of drama. Right? Like they're in my thing. I talked to this person. Like it was like.
Yeah, but you went on a mission, and so you learned how to build that on a mission.
So anyways, that was my story. So, but my whole point when we talked about the beginning of this is that all this stuff that I've ever been able to do and accomplish is because I learned how to do sales.
I love that, man.
So
that's such a cool story.
Yeah. And really short, mine's the same way. My dad was handicapped when I was younger, when I was little. My mom was basically raising the 4 of us alone, and she didn't have any money. And I grew from 4 foot to 6 foot in 2 years, 24 inches. I was wearing my brother's hand-me-up clothes. And basically what happened was I wanted my own clothes. Like my friends told me, man, Aaron, you look so funny, like always in floods. And I wanted my own money, but my parents didn't have money. And so this guy, my mom would always do these yard sales. She still does them to this day. Big hoarder, like does the fix and flips, we'll just call that. So this guy's on a pedal bike and he comes to buy, no joke, a microwave on a pedal bike. And he's got a box of spray paint and black and white and these numbers. And he says to my mom, he says, hey, how about I paint the numbers on your curb and I'll take this microwave for like $30. And my mom could sense that maybe he was homeless or something, and so she gave him a deal. So I went over as this curious kid, okay? Now I am in 6th grade, I'm 6'3", okay? I go over as this curious kid and I'm like watching him and he lays out the masking tape, he puts out the numbers, he does everything, and then he paints the black down first and then the white so it's reflective, and then I follow him to the next store and I listen to his pitch. And his pitch, this was literally his pitch, so golden. He said, hey, so I'm selling, or I'm doing the numbers on because it's for emergency, so people could find the house in the event that your kid was choking or something else and you're freaking out, they can't find the number because one's fallen off. And so I'm painting these numbers. It looks like that one across the way. And so it was literally that one across the way. And they're like, yeah, absolutely, $8, I'll do it. So I literally called my friends. I literally went down to the store. Now I'm in 6th grade, I'm 12 years old. I go down to the store to buy the paint and they won't sell it to me.
Wow.
Because you're not 18.
Exactly. Yeah. So I get my mom to go with me. I go buy the paint. Our first day, and here's the thing: is I did not play basketball because my dad died when I was young, 9 years old. I didn't play basketball, and everybody when we knocked on their door would say, "So are you raising money for summer basketball?" And so I literally went home and I told my mom, I'm like, "Mom, what's basketball?"
Yeah.
And she's like, "I don't know. I'll ask somebody at work." And Kerry Rupp, who's now in Louisiana, he actually was my coach over at East High. It was crazy. But anyways, so I go home and ask, and she gets me into basketball. But guess what? Before I even knew what basketball, guess what my pitch was? My pitch was, "Hi, I'm raising here money right now for my summer basketball. And this is what I would do. I'd go into a neighborhood and I would paint the first paint. And I would literally tell the lady, 'Hey, can I paint your numbers for free? And what's your name?' And she's like, 'Why would you do it for free?' And I said, 'Because I'm going to go across the street and I'm going to ask the lady for $10 and I'm going to point at yours.' And I would tell the first person that, and she's like, 'You're a genius.' And she would just give me a check for $10. But she would usually write it to my team. It was so funny. So anyway, so that's how I got started. And then sales is easy. You just have to get the hook. The hook is everything.
Yeah.
Well, the thing about sales that everybody asks is if you just create an irresistible offer,
Yeah.
you don't have to sell anything.
Yeah, if you sell pain, like your kid choking because they can't find the numbers. I totally agree with you.
Super. I'm glad to hear about the clothes thing. And just on the side note, I got to run because I got my kids here. But I knew that this dude would show up at the Jazz game like this last night. And he has a double XL fizzy, but he's asking because I bought everyone jerseys. So
Yeah, it was awesome.
But hey, anyone's more than welcome to contact me. I'm on social media. I'm on LinkedIn.
Absolutely.
And I love looking over deals.
Yeah.
So,
But start with the numbers first.
Yeah.
Put it on your first slide. Here's the numbers.
Yeah, be concise.
hey, I'm just gonna say this last part for you to remember.
Sure.
If you'll put this on YouTube, Instagram, all that stuff, but you write like a really good bio with our names and stuff in it, I'll have like our SEO guys blow it up all over.
Thanks,
so
man.
that it does inbound and all that stuff for
I
us.
appreciate
And
that.
then put like my company, your company. I'll write with bios and then his whatever he wants for his bio and his companies, so that it'll help promote all of us.
Perfect, man.
Hey,
Thank you, guys.
congratulations.